Hi, and welcome to another episode of eCommerce One. Today's guest is Andrea Guadalupi, head of e-commerce at Tone Sculpt. How are you doing, Andre?
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I am very well. I think we've both got a bit of sunshine today looking at your picture there, your image. Fantastic. So I think let's get straight into it. Looking forward to this. I know you've got a lot of experience in the actual trenches, which is great. So let's get straight into it. So Tone Sculpt, why is Tone Sculpt any different to any other fitness app out there?
So yeah, let's go straight into it. So that's a very good question. So it's interesting to see how the competitive landscape in the fitness environment changed drastically in the past 2 years, and in particular due to COVID, we had big increase in both demand for workouts and the workout apps, but also in terms of competition. So we have a lot of big players that come competing with us. So for example, we have Peloton, Apple Plus. So it's really a matter of finding your niche and find a way to scale from there.
Yeah.
In terms of what differentiates us for any other fitness app, I think it's first of all the community aspect. So we have a great community, and that is the forefront of everything we do.
Yeah.
So we tend to talk to them a lot. They are part of the product. We have a forum, we have social channels, and users engage with them a lot.
Yeah.
And also we have a very specific target audience. So we target only women and in general younger generation. So our target audience is Gen Z plus older millennials.
Yeah.
And I think this give us, strategic differentiation compared to other apps out there.
I think it's obviously been an interesting time, hasn't it, this last 18 months or so. And I think the amount of ads we're seeing around fitness apps, definitely, I personally, I know my wife and my sons are both into their fitness and the different things that we've signed up to, but the marketplace in general is pretty crowded, isn't it? Your marketplace in terms of fitness apps, and I think obviously it'd be good to talk more about that, that very specific demographic that you're going after, which obviously makes it a lot easier for targeting, for ad creative, for ad targeting. Is that sort of where you've sort of focused?
Yeah, that's correct. So we of course focus all our content for those kind of audience, really.
Yeah.
So we are on Instagram. We're very strong on Instagram. It's our key channel, but we're also on TikTok and partially on YouTube. So these are the key three channels where we tend to scale. Of course, our key platform is the platform of our trainers that builds a kind of relationship that is really one-to-one with our users.
Yeah.
So one of our co-founders is Christy Sella, which is also our lead trainer, and she has a huge Instagram following of over 2 million followers, and that's basically our platform for growth. But also, like, in terms of differentiation, again, it's a lot about how we talk about training, and especially during lockdown, there were a lot of different trends, and we try not to follow the trends too much, but have our own flair regarding fitness. And basically, what we want, what we say to our customer is to enjoy the process and not be focused on results. Results will come over time, but we don't talk about physical transformation too much.
Yes.
But we try to make fitness fun.
I think that's I think gone are the days where you see this before and after pick as the lead. It seems to be quite tired now, doesn't it? Obviously that's important, but it's a day-to-day, it's that routine, those daily things that we're working on. I think going back to your sort of if we focus on that sort of reasons for growth, obviously you're saying that you're one of your founders, owners is also the trainer. And I guess that's played a huge part then in terms of the actual growth over the last year. That's obviously very relatable. It's not just somebody there that's potentially coming in and out to do a session. They are the brand.
Correct. And our trainers, are the brands. So our users tend to follow them and get their tips on social channels and create this kind of one-on-one relationship. It's so much more than an app. And I think the key reason for Tone Sculpt growth comes from the vision of our founders. So it's quite interesting to see, like, especially for me coming from more trading background, to see how they are really not focused on the commercial side of things.
Yeah.
Of course, money plays a role, but their focus is to create the best possible product in order to change people's life.
Yeah.
And that's in our day-to-day a lot. And I think the consistency of this message throughout the year is what made the difference for us, because we are really, in everything we do, we really focus on the user. When we talk about customer obsession, we are there, you know.
It's great to hear, isn't it? It is great to hear. I think, the people behind the brand are living and breathing the brand, they're living and breathing what they're doing. And obviously the outcome of that is you're doing a good job, and and people want to be looked after in your community. They want to know that the training and then the knowledge and the guidance and the support and the fitness element, is coming from the heart, because these people, your bosses, are living and breathing this stuff. But of course, behind that, there's the commercial element. Now, I think let's dive in there for a bit. And I think obviously paid ads. Let's maybe, how do you split your time and your resource between sort of acquisition and retention? Obviously, getting people signed up is one thing. But as we know in the fitness game, everyone relies on, that, like the gyms, they have a busy time in January, don't they? They're all rubbing their hands in January sort of thing. But acquisition and retention, obviously, big part of your business, and I'm quite interested to hear sort of both sides.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So I think as part of our industry, we have lots of people that joined and they stop their subscription for a few months, then start again. So we tend to split entirely the process of, acquisition and retention. So we think that the reason why people join us in the first place is different from the reason why they stay for us. Yeah. So they join because they want to make a change in their life, but then they stay because they like the community, they like the workout, they create the kind of relationship that they would miss in any other app out there. In terms of resources, I would say my time is probably 30 acquisition, 60 retention, 70 retention. Yeah. Because we found it also from a commercial point of view, the key driver for growth is retention. So we look at churn rate very closely all the time and try to, and it's much easier to make an impact there than, spend more on ads and get more new users.
Yeah, I think it's very relatable for a lot of people listening in the different businesses they're in. To obviously to acquire a new customer is a lot harder than to retain one, and obviously get them becoming more of an ambassador. So retention, then, we've all signed up for these various apps, and you call it various things. Subscriptions is basically what we're talking about. And I know, I've been pretty guilty of signing up to quite a few. I had a couple of deliveries yesterday from a couple of coffee brands, obviously very, very different, but ultimately it's just a subscription business where I received 3 packs of coffee yesterday. They all came on one day. I was like, I need to adjust my timing, sort of thing. But ultimately, I don't want to cancel them, but I want to adjust and have that ability to adjust when I have things. So what sort of things have you done to retain? When people ultimately, they sign up, they do their week or their month. But obviously, there's sweet spots that when people are more likely to churn. And then, what have you been doing to retain them for, a lot longer than traditional retention periods?
So I think there are, a few different things. As again, retention is the key pillar for growth. So first of all, we tend to create a lot of campaigns. So if you look at the app now and you look at the app again in 3 months, it's not going to look the same. Yeah. And that is particularly important for subscription businesses, where a user keeps seeing and find new stuff. Yeah. So for example, throughout this year, we had 3 challenges, 28 days challenges that we launched just for that specific time frame. Yeah. We have a new trainer joining the app. We have new guides refurbished and a massive switch, from home workouts at the beginning of the year towards gym workouts. When the gym reopened. So I think that's one key part in terms of retention. So keep being exciting for the users.
Yeah, fresh. Yeah.
Another thing is about the quality of the workouts. So of course, at the end of the day, users use our app for the workouts. So we do a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of looking at every possible metrics within the app and try to understand what users do, what they don't, what we thought they were doing and they're actually not doing it, trying to understand why and make changes in order to improve customer experience throughout their subscription. And I think that over time, of course, is small incremental changes, but it's what improve our retention. And lastly, I think given the fact that we talk about a journey, not a short burst of fitness workout, we tend to try to push user toward longer plans, and I think those that are as well.
Oh, so when they sign up, they're paying for a longer, like not a month, they're paying for 3 months. There's options to pay for 3, 6, 12 months.
Correct. We have monthly, quarterly, yearly subscription, and of course, having longer subscription is a key driver for.
So incentives, like so it's obviously a lot cheaper to sign up for 12 months than it is for 1 month times 12. Yeah.
Correct. We have a 14 days free trial, so that allows us, allow the user to have the confidence to go to a longer plan after they try the app.
Yeah. So do you have, I think that's obviously a great insight there, obviously having those different price points and obviously stacking the value for the longer, higher price points. So are you doing anything? I'm quite intrigued to I'm wondering if you're doing anything where people are like, do you know what? I'm going to cancel, so I'm going to the app. I'm trying to cancel. I'm going to cancel. Have you got anything? What are you doing there to stop that moment there?
So of course, the cancellation flow is a key part of any growth marketing businesses. So we try not to be too aggressive in the way we do things. We just try to we just ask them what is their key reason, and we have a few that we have listed, and if they answer to one of them, then we track them, and over time we can show them personalized messages depending on the option. But there's a lot of back and forth and resubscription going on. So I think that's a big part of our business.
I think a lot of people
users that are not anymore subscribed.
It surprises me how many subscription firms subscription firms that don't have a cancellation flow in place. It's very surprising. So I think if you're listening to this episode, obviously quite a lot of things there, and I think if we're breaking them down there, keeping things fresh, really important. And if you think about that, if you're paying for the same thing, it just gets tired, doesn't it? If in this is, if you listen to the same training with the same trainer, the same 45-minute routine or the 20-minute routine, it's like anything, isn't it? Things get tired. Whether it's where you go into your favorite restaurant, if the menu doesn't change, you go somewhere else, So that quality, keeping the quality there, making sure that the quality is you're always looking to up your game, because if you're not, somebody else is. There's always other things out there. There's always shiny objects out there, isn't there? And keeping that conversation going, I think, is a real key one. But then that cancellation policy as well. There's quite a lot of things there that I think when you obviously stack them together, and you're continually building on them, it just keeps stacking, doesn't it? 10%, 10%, 10%. But interesting that you're sort of circa 70% focused on retention. And I think a lot of people in the e-commerce space do not spend enough time on retention, and I think obviously you guys are doing fantastic. I think that's quite a lesson there, retention, guys. So what would you say has generated the best results for your business? Have any specific campaigns that you've ran recently over the last sort of 18 months?
I think the most interesting piece has been the Strong guide. So Chrissy rebranded one of her guides as Strong, with a lot of data insights that we provide internally. So it was an interesting piece of collaboration between different teams in the where we had to analyze data, understand what users were doing, why they were switching, and give recommendations to the trainers. Then she rebuilt the whole journey and all the workouts, and then we relaunched basically as the gym were reopening. So we've seen a very nice trend of user going from the lockdown, doing home workouts, switching back to the gym and starting their journey there. And again, this is something that differentiates us a bit compared to other players in the market, where they have online classes that you need your laptop or your TV to really play.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because we have obviously seen this. Obviously, I don't think you could buy any weight training gear 12 months ago, or it was 3 times the price because everyone's buying it to do it at home. But obviously now gyms are open, and you do. And it's funny. I've been going back, and I see a definite increase in the amount of people that are grabbing their phone and obviously they're listening to what they were doing at home, or the people and the app or an app. But they're doing it in the gym. They're actually doing right. Okay, so it's chest today. You watch it. Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. And then they're watching a little video. It's an interesting amount of people. I've personally definitely seen more people on their phones, not messing about, but actually looking at their apps and whatnot in the gym. So obviously, yeah.
I think, generally speaking, here in the UK, we are the number of subscription in the gym. I think they come back to the level before COVID, and that's a very good as a community, especially because fitness. I think a lot of people realize the value of fitness during the lockdown. So we have definitely a spike in demand. But it's very interesting to see how now user behavior is changing, and what is their behavior even inside the gym is different from what it was a few years ago.
Yeah. So let's stay there for a moment then. So data wise, what's obviously you've got data around who's doing what on the app, but what specifically data do you sort of look at to help drive sort of business change, business decisions? Obviously, it's been a lot of change, home workouts, gym workouts, outside workouts, weather, obviously home. But what are you looking at? You've made some quite bold moves there by, restructuring everything based on some facts, and doing the research. But what data specifically? Thinking of people that are listening to this, thinking, well, okay, where do we start? What do we do with the data? Where do we get the data from? Obviously people are buying things, but if things are changing outside of our ecosphere, how do we know?
Yeah, that's a very interesting conversation that we can have. We tend to track, everything that is happening. We want to understand what actually users do within the app. In terms of, commercial metrics, we're looking. Our key two metrics are number of free trials and churn rate. So we look basically at customer that come in, the one that comes out. And then when we look at in terms of product marketing, we tend to look at everything. One of the key thing we do is looking at engagement in general of users in the app. So whenever we have a campaign, we tend to link, what people have seen in ads, what people have seen on social, to what they're actually doing, and trying to assess what is the impact of each and every action. They can be very different. So fortunately, our tech stack allows us to make analysis quick, and I think that's a very important. It's a very important thing.
So, what do you do when you're sort of you instinctively know that people are going to the gym more, but how do they're doing less at home? But that's more about have you sort of got access to third-party data that you use? So you don't really know what that transition is. You don't know that, I assume you don't know till you find out that that half the planet is working out at home, or most of the planet is working out at home, and then all of a sudden the gym's open and you assume more people are going to the gym. But in the early days, I don't think they were sort of where are we now? So 8 months ago, maybe when they opened briefly in the UK, I know I was like, I think it wasn't very busy, but yeah, it is busy now, definitely. But how do you know? You just basically going to the gyms yourself and having you're actually doing an actual physical recce of the different areas, or obviously this is a worldwide app. So how do you sort of get that data to know that there's been a change in the industry?
So first of all, it's been a very intense period of uncertainty. So we had to create different plans depending on what we were thinking was going to happen, and then lockdown happened so quick that it's very difficult to react quickly. But yeah, that's what we try to do. And whenever we gym reopened, we try to create a new product feature that allowed us users to go there, and luckily it went well. In terms of data, I think a piece of insight that I can give you is that Gen Z tend to love to give insights. So our on our social channels, we do a lot of surveys
Yeah.
internally through the app. We do a lot of surveys, and our users are always very, very keen to give us an update and tell us what they like and what they don't. And I think that's a generational thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of scalable for other businesses as well.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's good. So you touched on a few moments ago about your tech stack. So is there any specific tech that you would sort of say to our listeners is, you know, that's, or what would you recommend, you know, to the listeners that
So
there's a lot of options out there, isn't there? And I think you know, how do you use and what do you use?
So we use a Mixpanel plus Braze in terms of CRM plus data analytics. There are a lot of different tools out there, and I think every brand create their own stack at the end, and there are a lot of different valid alternatives as well. I think the good thing of these two tools is that they allow us to track things in real time, so we're able to see and make decisions based, you know, on the precious data available, which considering the number of actions that the user can take into the app, it's quite good compared, you know, to the old time when you have to mine data from a database.
Yeah. No, great. Okay. So sorry, go on.
No.
Yep. So I think obviously that's, you know, you guys are doing really, really well. I think obviously you've been fortunate. People say we've been fortunate, and you know, but you know, in terms of different industries have done really, really well with this last 18 months. But ultimately, you know, you've got a cracking business. But you know, some things that you will have tried, you know, right when the gym's open, probably very briefly. I'm trying to get my timeline down, but probably 8 months ago. Obviously, if you put everything into that, you know, it would have been a bit of a disaster, not ish. But obviously, you've got to dip your toe into these things to see. You know, you're testing, aren't we? We're testing. So, you know, people that are listening, you know, they're testing things and it's not working, it's not selling. You know, how, give us a bit more insight into that. You know, there's obviously a lot of challenges there, potentially trying different things. There's costs associated with that, building campaigns, creative costs, you know, research costs. You know, if a product's not selling and you're trying various, you know, a lot of different things, what sort of advice would you give to our listeners to overcome those challenges?
So yeah, first of all, regarding testing, I think the key thing there is to create something that, you know, a framework that is robust. So a lot of times I've seen people doing tests for the sake of doing tests, but the tests were, you know, were not giving at the end a result that was strategic. So I think this is probably the key thing, that whenever you try to test something new, you have to have an outcome already prepared in case one of the two wins or the variation wins. And yeah, we try to test things that are big enough. Of course, that depends from, you know, the size of your business. Amazon can do tests on very small things and it will impact. That's not the case for us, but we try to test things that are insightful and impactful as well. And then from a data point of view, you have to be solid in the understanding of, you know, when a test has significance, when you can call it a win or a lose. And also this is not super clear for many people in the...
And I guess obviously that will vary a lot depending on the size of your organization, but ultimately, you know, I think quite often people do a little test maybe and get five clicks or 50 orders, but obviously that's not a test. You know, you've got to put quite a bit of data. What sort of a sort of sample size, or so what do you consider a sort of successful test?
So personally, we kind of use like internal tools that look at statistical significance and tell us, you know, depending on the size of the population, depending on the conversion rates, well, conversion could be anything. We are, you know, this percentage sure that the test is successful. And at the end of the day, there's always uncertainty, but depending on, you know, the magnitude of the test, you can accept more or less uncertainty in your results.
Love it. So I think we'll have a lot of head of e-commerce listening to this episode. I really do. Now, obviously, you're running a very successful sort of e-commerce business. Ultimately, what does I think there's just so much to do, isn't there? But, this is the, we know, when you start rattling off the to-do list of the things that head of e-commerce and marketing heads are responsible for. How do you prioritize things? How do you prioritize the tasks and the things that you have to do on your to-do list on a sort of daily, weekly, monthly basis?
Yeah, so I think this is really one of the key things to really be successful. And as I told you, like the pace at which we try to do things is extremely high. So we try to be fresh for our user. That means that we need to produce a lot of content. We need to launch, test, and try a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So in terms of how I tend to prioritize, I first have a look at what are the blockers for other people. So what is, where in a project I am the bottleneck. And this, when everyone behave like this, you are in a situation where everyone has time then to do their stuff.
Yeah.
And
resolving bottlenecks so other people are not stuck. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's one part, and the other one is to try to always consider the potential effects of what you're doing, and try to prioritize the things that have more impact. That's not easy to say. Of course, it's really hard to do.
No, but I that really resonates. To be fair, it's trying to make sure that your team are not stuck. And then, so spending time with the team, spending time with your team members on the projects and the things that are, so then, the power of, 10, 20, 30 people, depending on your organization and department size, they're moving. But then it's like, right, where am I going to make the most impact as an individual with my team? And almost maybe opening a new door to a whole new revenue stream or a whole new campaign or a new gyms are opening. Well, we can keep going here with the home fitness and we'll do okay, but hang on a minute, there's a whole new world over here, or the old world is coming back. So is there anything else you would add to that?
The other one is, I think it's very, very important to keep the communications up, especially in the world that is moving toward remote working, or at least partial remote working. I think especially during the lockdown periods, make sure that everyone is on top of everything, and especially when you're stuck, in a lot of meetings, you just forget or tend to forget that, not every.
Are you working? Are you 100% remote, or are you in an office some days a week?
We are in the office now 3 days a week.
Same. Yeah.
But personally, as a small company trying to grow, we really find helpful to be in the same room to discuss plans and share ideas. We're still in this phase where a lot of processes are not set yet. It's beneficial to the same space at the same time. I think throughout the lockdown, we also learned the benefits of being on your own when you have to do.
Absolutely. There's some times where you just want to get your head down, crack on, get the job done, and I don't want to talk to anybody. It sounds just like our place, to be fair. We're doing 3 days a week, and then 2 days at home, and it's right, head down, focus. 3 days of a lot of collaboration, a lot of discussion, a lot of project.
It's going to be interesting to see how the industry will change, depending on the fact that some individuals prefer to work remotely, some others just like to be in an office environment. I think there's going to be a lot of changes in terms of individual adapting to the organizations and change.
It is. It's an interesting time at the moment. I think obviously a lot of people are going back, whether that's 2-3 days a week, but I think so just see what will then happen from that. But they'll be like, actually, I don't know, my prediction is more, I think that will very much be 2-3 days, but then I think it might go, actually, there might be a bit more of a retraction from that, and it might be more of a sort of maybe a little bit less is required now, because we've sort of sorted out the comms a bit more. We've seen everybody. We're working on projects a bit tighter, So now actually, we might do 3 days at home and 2 days in the office, but we'll see. We'll find out soon enough, won't we?
Yeah. I think it's very company specific as well. So I guess for certain organizations, it's just better to be in the office. For some others, that it's not required. So, giving the flexibility can allow you to get best available talent or a cheaper talent for.
Yeah. So what would you say the future looks like for Tone Sculpt then?
So we have a lot of exciting campaigns going on. So we're all pretty busy with the channel launch, new campaigns going on.
Yeah.
So we are just trying to keep being ahead of the game, keep being fresh.
You're gonna give us any sort of hot off the press, something very unique in the fitness industry that you're launching? Is that possible? I don't know. You've got to let the cat out of the bag, maybe. But
so let me think. Well, I can tell you that we just signed up our news trainer.
Yeah.
So that's definitely going to happen, and
okay.
Yeah, that will bring some fresh air.
So that's somebody well known in the fitness.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye out for that. Well, thanks, Andre, for being a guest. Now, we really do like to finish every episode with a book recommendation. We're big time readers at eCom at One and eCom One, and I know a lot of our listeners. We're always recommending books, as you might see behind me. So, what book would you recommend to our readers?
So the book I would go for is called Invisible Women. Exposing data bias in a world designed for men.
Okay.
It's a very interesting read, especially for men, I would say, and basically explore all the things that have just been designed for men and let you understand what was quite opening for me, but basically let you understand how even small things like your phone is being designed for the hand of man, not the hand of a woman. And when you scale that across all the products in the world, you can understand how we need to improve on that.
Wow, that sounds a very good book. Very good book. Okay.
And the good thing from my point of view is that it's all like data driven and evidence based.
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
That sounds good. That sounds a really good book, actually. That sounds like one of the best recommendations we've had for quite some time. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being a guest on eCom at One. For the listeners that want to find out more about yourself, more about the brand, what's the best way to reach out to you, Andre?
I think LinkedIn is the best channel.
Yeah.
If you want to reach out to the brand, we can find us on social.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, thanks for being a guest on eCom at One. I look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Speak soon.
Thanks a lot.